The Hogans put the fun and dysfunctional one last time in the second and last season of Brooke Knows Best. If you've been following this series from the start, then welcome back. What a journey it's been. After all that we've been through, we're finally pulling up to the final destination. And we're starting off strong. But before I get into this episodic breakdown of a long-forgotten show, I first once again have to thank Double Z TV for helping me find the footage for this season. And I also have to thank Randoms for getting me this series finale, because it was thought to be completely lost. And now I can give you the complete Brooke Knows Best experience. Although I don't think that's something anyone was asking for. Episode 1. The final season starts off with a bang, and then continues to question who's banging who. The episode starts with Brooke and Friends watching one of the many news reports at the time that was surrounding her family's public-private life. As at this time, Linda had just started a relationship with a guy younger than her daughter and the same age as her son.
It's just weird to me. He's like my little brother.
He's the same age as Nick.
Ew.
I spent 30 years destroying my body to build that house. And some kid that's 19 years old lives in that house.
If that's not bad enough on its own, then add on to it that this dude was a classmate of Brooke's. Also keep in mind that her mother left her father for cheating on her with one of Brooke's friends. Is it too much to ask that you look outside your children's inner circles to find dates? I feel like that's bare minimum. But things get just as weird when Brooke visits her father and tells him that his new girlfriend looks like her.
You know what's so crazy is that looks like Jennifer. But me.
Stop.
What? No, it's okay.
Right.
She's older than me, but she looks like me.
I wish you all would stop, actually. Or alternatively, start going to therapy. This family puts the complex in Oedipus complex. Brooke agrees to meet her dad's new girlfriend over dinner. And when they do meet, they're huddled together like this. I've heard of close families before, but this is too close of a family. Like actually, like physically.
How are you? I like how tall you are. You're in your heels.
Yes.
It's
So I
good.
can compete. I need to match.
Let's go. I just wanted you and Brooke to hook up.
See, now normally I would think that there's a generational gap in slang, but given everything I've seen about this family here, this is probably just a Freudian slip. The date is comedically awkward, with the two not having that much to say to one another, and Brooke not wanting to give her potential new stepmom a chance. Though the following day, out of no reason in particular, she decides to stop ignoring her father's girlfriend and instead starts interrogating. It's here that she shares some delusions that she has about her dad.
He is so very respectful.
He's definitely Old Faithful.
I don't think I'd use the word faithful to describe Hulk. Like, no offense to him. I'm not judging. I'm just saying it feels like an inaccurate word used to describe him. Hulk tries to break up the conversation to no avail, and it's here that the huckster starts to see the error of his ways. Sort of.
You got to spend all that time with all my boyfriends, and I don't get to spend time with your girlfriend? I think that's a little unfair.
I don't like this. I was worried that she'd be doing the same thing to you that I used to do to the guys that used to come over.
Couldn't live by rules for thee and not for me forever, pal. The next day, Brooke and Friends join Hulk and Jennifer, where they're set to take a ride in his boat. But when they get to the docks, he reveals that he's actually lost his boat in the divorce, so now they have to ride around in a tiny rental boat. I think this is supposed to be played for laughs, but it's actually really sad. And there's going to be a lot of moments like that in this season. As a matter of fact, there's going to be one right after the sentence. Because making matters worse is when they steer toward Hulkster's old place, Brooke has a complete breakdown after seeing the dogs in the backyard.
Can we say hi to Cookie real quick?
No, I can't.
I can't pet Cookie.
Brooke, I can't pull in there, otherwise your mom will have me put in jail. I can't.
This series has always been blatantly bizarre, but as time goes on, it starts to get deeply depressing. It feels like a really personal time for this family.
Nick wrote me that letter the third day he was in solitary confinement in jail.
It's raw and real and really doesn't belong on reality TV. But that's also why I think it's so fascinating. They're constantly crying and clashing. It's full of really private matters to be so public. And because of that, it makes it really hard to look away. Throughout the episode, Brooke has been dodging her mother's calls. Brooke is basically silently disowning her mother for a choice and significant other due to a significant age gap.
When was the last time you talked to your mama?
About 6 months.
Wow.
Yeah. My dad admitted that, yes, he did some things wrong, but he came to me and he was like, I love you, and my relationship with you is more important than any relationship with anybody else. She has completely excluded me from her life, you know, and if I want to be part of her life, I have to put up with Charlie, which I just don't condone or agree with.
How's Brooke doing? She's done things that I don't totally approve of, you know? She's dated a few guys that I'm going like,
And it isn't until the end of the episode where she accepts her call and the two talk. Don't expect a feel-good moment here either.
You come into town and you don't even call. Just get over it and let's move on.
Because the first installment in this last season doesn't end with the two making up, it just ends. What a downer. Episode 2. Things get weirder in Episode 2, as we pause the real-life drama going on with the Hogan clan, and instead go straight into sitcom territory. We're talking full Three's Company here. You see, since Glenn the gay roommate hasn't had a lot of luck with dating dudes recently, Brooke decides that she should set him up with a chick.
What if you have a little bit of straight left in you? What if you try to date a girl?
You're straight, and I'm gay.
I still think that you have the potential to be straight, but
No, I know who I am.
Yeah, I don't think that's how that works. Ultimately, it's decided that Glenn will go on a date with a girl if Brooke and Ashley also go on a date with a girl.
Gotta let them think that you're into them. You gotta not let the person know that you're straight, and there's gotta be a kiss.
Oh good, so potentially get someone interested in you, gaslight them into thinking that you're into them, and then let them down without rhyme or reason. Yeah, that sounds fun. Having this proposition brought up to her, Brooke is adamant that she doesn't like girls. And neither does Glenn. Sounds like a pretty open and shut case right there. But we can't end it there, because we need an entire episode full of moments of Brooke not understanding how sexuality works. I'm not necessarily offended, I'm just mostly bored. Brooke's dad calls,
There's the girl I love. What's she doing?
and Glenn lets it slip that Brooke is going on a date. Which, as you might imagine, doesn't work for him, brother.
You talking about your date?
What date, Brooke? Brooke, what date?
Brooke, Ashley, and Glenn meet their dates, where they desperately try to disguise their orientation. Badly. Glenn and his date dirty talk over dinner, Brooke gets mad at a waiter for misgendering her date, and Ashley's date stands up to a dude who won't stop hitting on them. The three end up kissing their dates goodnight, but realizing that despite the good night that they had, they're all rather unchanged by it. And in the end, nothing is learned because there is nothing to learn. This is probably the most cringe-inducing episode of this show or its parent series. I mean, there's been way more cringe-worthy moments, but at least they felt entertaining, you know? They were fun. The problem isn't that this episode is weird, it's that it's weird and weak. Episode 3. Ashley and Glenn are out clubbing while Brooke is out working, when they're recognized by a man with a proposition.
You and Brooke make an appearance in my yacht for this weekend.
What kind of appearance do you want? Are we going to be speaking? Is it like a business party?
Don't worry about it.
Just
You have a fun. Maybe 20 grand.
Oh no, he can't mean what he obviously does mean, right? Party on a yacht? Asking to be accompanied by beautiful semi-famous women? Putting a price on their appearance and not asking for a performance? This show just goes there, huh? Ashley, not fully understanding what she was getting involved in, brings this business proposition up to Brooke, who of course decides to take this strange stranger up on his offer. Both girls are horrified to find that the party is very handsy, with very little regard for personal space. Wow, it's like hopping on a boat with strangers and sailing out into the middle of nowhere was a bad idea.
Because of the implication. She's out in the middle of nowhere with some dude she barely knows. You know, she looks around her, what does she see? Nothing but open ocean. There's nowhere for me to run. What am I gonna do, say no?
The girls very quickly learn what they should have already known, and Brooke understandably doesn't handle it all that well.
I just want to get off.
Very poor choice of words.
The man who made the offer to get them there throws himself at Hulk Hogan's favorite child in a pretty painful manner, the whole time, until ultimately, the two girls go overboard.
Let's get off this boat. I'm not staying here and being a high-class hooker anymore.
But they also have a hard time finding their way when they're on land.
It might have been better being escorts for 3 more hours.
Eventually, they hop aboard another boat and are taken back home. The trip is rough, and the girls decide to swim to shore with their bags in their hand. Now, Of course, this is one of the episodes that was absolutely fully staged by the show. I mean, there's a lot of time when reality creeps into reality TV, and this episode was just all TV and no reality. But knowing that it's scripted is somehow even stranger to me, because why would you script that? Episode 4. Well, show just got real. It's the moment that none of y'all have been waiting for, as Nick Hogan makes his return to reality television. This show frames it as if it's a good thing, but I'm not really convinced that it is. The show wants its audience to be stoked to see Nick again, but all I can think of is,
For some reason, man, God lays a heavy on a kid.
A negative person. I mean, that reality deal.
Yep.
Reality, how I'm getting back on my feet and how I'm recovering after the celebrity out of jail.
and apparently it's all they can think about too, as the group brings it up themselves.
So those phone calls that we actually heard where you were like just going freaking the out, because we heard all of it on TV.
They really try to make Nick look like he's a changed man, and they lay it on thick, completely showing their hand.
I've got a much healthier relationship with the big guy we got together with to raise money for brain trauma research and brain stem cell research.
It's awesome.
Which is awesome, because then that'll help John.
Oh yeah, that makes it okay. That makes it right. That's even Stevens. Even Stevens. Brooke and Nick go out to lunch and discuss their parents' divorce, where Nick seems to suggest disassociating as a way of coping.
I just try not to pay attention to it, honestly,
Yeah.
because it's if I do, it's too hard to deal with. It's weird for me to think that the four of us will never be like in the same room again.
Like I said before, this season is really sad. Each one really captured the exact moments a marriage fell apart and followed the family coming to terms with it. When this show gets real, it's a real rough watch. But it's also hard to take your eyes away. Nick visits his mother, who asks him about Brooke.
She's my chi-chi monger.
I don't even know what that means, but I remember you
I don't
telling me
either. But yeah, she's my little girlfriend.
Linda asks her son to help mend the fence between her and her daughter, to which he agrees. Nick reaches out to his older sister and asks her to reconcile with their mother, but Brooke isn't ready for a reunion. She tries to reason with Nick, but her reasonings don't seem as reasonable because of what it is that she's saying and who it is that she's saying it to.
If I go over there, it's like I'm enabling her bad behavior.
See, I can understand where she's coming from. There's some logic in that statement, but the statement loses logic when you realize the situation behind it. Yes, Brooke, talk about not wanting to enable bad behavior by having a relationship with your mother to your brother, who you do have a relationship with, who just nearly ended his friend's life in a drunk driving accident, caused him severe brain damage, and then blamed the whole thing on him. Somehow. Brooke discusses her dilemma with her roommates, who suggest that she go and visit her mother, to which she suggests that they come with her. But when the time comes for the three to go to the Hulkster's former place of residence, Brooke gets cold feet and has another breakdown.
I just don't understand, like, how you could have a daughter and then just one day be like, well, you know, I found a new kid to take care of.
She decides that she can't stand to see her mother with someone so young, believing him to be a bad influence on her and their relationship completely inappropriate. So instead, for some reason, she sends her two buddies in her place. Linda cries upon hearing that her daughter didn't come visit her, causing Nick to comfort her before taking his leave to talk with Brooke. Ultimately, Brooke doesn't wind up going to see her mother, and the episode instead ends with her being comforted by her brother and her father.
I'm not ready to deal with that stuff right now. I'm sorry, baby.
Much like the first episode, this certainly wasn't the conclusion I thought that we were gonna get. But then again, I didn't think that Nick Hogan resurfacing was in the cards either, and yet here we are. Episode 5. Brooke is working on a collaboration with Colby O'Donis, who is someone I knew before making this video. Yeah, I wasn't familiar with this guy, so I looked him up immediately, but Brooke then proceeded to say the same thing a current-day Google search would tell you about him.
Wait, who is he?
He did a feature on Lady Gaga's Just Dance. Okay.
And that's not all.
He did Always Talking About What You Got song with Akon.
That's all.
When the two singers get together, sparks fly. And as you might have guessed, that doesn't work for him, brother. Hulk proceeds to try to step in and make sure that these two artists don't duet. Though to be fair to him, Colby's manager slash father certainly paints a picture.
He plays guitar around girls, he melts their hearts. Stuffed teddy bears drop their drawers when he starts playing.
Oh, stop it.
Does anyone in Hollywood have a normal relationship with their family? You know what? I already knew the answer before I finished the sentence. Let's just move on. After Colby tries to impress Brooke with his guitar playing, just as Colby's father forewarned, Hulk decides to take his guitar and play so that he too can impress his own daughter with his own abilities. This is the hard body contest all over again. Hey, listen, that's nothing to snicker at. It was those specific skills that almost got him into Metallica. Brooke and Colby go to grab a meal, but don't invite their dads along for dinner, much to the Hulkster's dismay.
Romance take its toll, dude.
That statement is all the more strange when you realize that Brooke also dated that guy's son, Stax. Has anyone had a healthy relationship with anybody in Hollywood? The two wind up going on a date, and things seem to be going relatively well, with the two hopeful up-and-comers hitting it off. Meanwhile, back at Brooke's place, Hulk's hanging with his daughter's roommates, which is a perfectly normal thing to do, when Glenn decides to drop trowel and hang dong to avoid tan lines. But he's not the only one, as back on the date, Brooke loses her bottoms in a tragic tubing accident. Luckily, there is a silver lining to every dark cloud, as this event was enough to inspire Colby to burst into impromptu song. Bizarrely, when Brooke and Colby meet back up with their dads, Brooke encourages Colby to tell them what happened on the date, to which Colby's father once again takes the opportunity to brag.
I told you when he plays that guitar, panties come on.
Multiple times. A dinner with the dads is had where things are just as awkward as they've ever been before, and while the two enjoy each other's company, things wind up not working out as Colby has to go on tour and won't be able to see Brooke for the next 6 to 9 months. Oh well, easy come, easy go. Lasted about as long as any other fling that she's had on the show. Episode 6. These are the episodes I have a real hard time finding something to say about. It's another gimmick episode. Brooke, her friends, and her family are going to see who could be the best astronaut, for some reason. And also, Glenn has a new boyfriend that he's seemingly obsessed with. The filler in this season is really odd to me. It's not the first time we've seen it thus far, and it's far from the last. But these episodes especially feel out of place with all the serious stuff going on in the background. You go from addressing real-life issues that the Hogans were going through in the tabloids to suddenly playing pretend. You have the Hogans' bitter divorce, the hurt feelings of the children of divorce, Nick coming back from jail following a drunk driving incident, Brooke and Linda's estranged relationship, Hulk and Linda's public back and forth, and then you go to acting like Buzz Lightyear. Just cuz. But hey, at least the episode gave us this exchange.
I'm gonna try to fly some rockets. Just don't tell me about flying my dad's rocket.
So it was all worth it in the end. Glenn also introduces everyone to his new boyfriend, who is a B actor apparently. I don't care. Not a whole lot to talk about here. This episode isn't really integral to the Brooke Knows Best lore. I don't care about the A plot, the B plot, and I don't want to see it ever again. Episode 7. It's another dud. Glenn returns to his hometown with the girls, meeting up with his parents and ex-fiancé. His former fiancé keeps insisting that he's not gay and must be bi.
Crazy, you're not gay.
And she does this a lot.
Are you bi?
I'm not bi, no.
So you're really gay?
Making it clear that she's not over him and hasn't moved past the denial phase in grief. And Brooke isn't helping matters.
You guys are so cute together. It's sad for me because I'm like, oh my god.
Glenn worries about introducing his father to his boyfriend, but his mother reassures him of their acceptance, which is kinda wholesome. All goes well when Dan the boyfriend is introduced to the family. Although upon learning that he designs department stores, Glenn's dad says this.
Some of those mannequins are pretty hot too, besides the clothing they're wearing. You blow them up, don't you?
I'm not sure what part of that sentence I'm most confused by. That he was into mannequins? Or the fact that he thought you can blow them up? The episode ends with Glenn giving a speech back at his old high school that gets a standing ovation. It's a nice sentiment, but it's not all that great of an episode. Episode 8. Guess what? It is another filler episode. The girls find a dog off camera and bring it home. They search for its owner, but also hope not to find one as they've already fallen in love with the furry little guy, naming him Nemo. Unfortunately, they already had a vacation planned, so they leave Nemo with Hulk and Knobs.
He doesn't like you, Knobs.
This gruesome twosome raids the fridge and grabs beers while trying to get the dog to do tricks.
He does everything I tell him, just like all the jabronis in the WWE.
Elsewhere on their trip, Glenn, Brooke, and Ashley are killing time as they head to their location.
Never have I ever seen my parents having sex.
You haven't?
No, I haven't.
Oh, lucky you.
Shenanigans ensue as Hulk and Knobs walk the dog, and I'm not talking about Al Green. Though it would be funnier if I was.
It's a cute baby you guys have. What was this one's name again?
Spike Butch.
When the group gets to their destination, they party the night away, with Ashley leaving with some guy that she just met. Back at the VH1 house, Knobs refuses to sleep in Glenn's room because it's too gay. So instead, he heads to Brooke's room to try to get in bed with Hulk, which is apparently far less gay. The dog's original owner shows up to pick the dog up, and Knobs does a dance in celebration. It's only now that I'm realizing that Brooke has not shared a screen nor sat in a room with her mother this whole time. You'd think the show would focus on repairing their relationship, but instead we get dogs and hometown visits. Episode 9. Things are not getting better. When this show is not capitalizing off of real drama, it is creatively bankrupt and completely out of ideas. Ashley makes the house go green and gets extreme with it. It annoys everyone to no end, but at least it gives us this moment.
All your cars and houses and stuff.
First off, if we're going to speak factually, I don't have cars and houses anymore.
The girls get into an argument over Ashley's aggressive green ways, but they wind up making up by the end of it. And I don't care. Remember when I said that this season was starting off strong? Yeah, well, it's finishing weak. It's just going out with a whimper instead of a bang. So let's just hope that the series finale can make up for the last half a season.
He's going through a divorce.
I got nothing.
Episode 10. Here we are, the last and lost episode. This is what it all comes down to. Was it worth being found? Let's find out. Brooke's working on a new dance routine when she gets a call that her father's collapsed. He's living with such severe back pain that his legs went numb. The doctors show Hulk his spine and suggest surgery as an attempt to correct his issues, a procedure that he eventually decides to get done. And here's where the horror of hindsight comes back to rear its ugly head once again. These treatments did not go great for the huckster. As a matter of fact, he'd later sue this institute to the tune of $50 million for unnecessary and unhelpful surgeries. Surgeries that he claimed ruined his career. But like a lot of Hogan claims, you can find evidence to the contrary. Evidence that is usually word of his own mouth, as at the end of the episode, Hogan praises the doctors that worked on him and highlights some of the ways the surgery was a success.
You look like you're doing fine.
Immediate relief. As soon as I saw them doing that, I could tell it was like the pressure was off my lower back. This little square here was always numb. Now it's not numb at all.
Which is also allegedly why this episode is so hard to find. Though I don't think I could fully buy that when you look at everything else on the show. Especially considering the fact that the Hulkster is wearing a Bubba the Love Sponge shirt on almost every episode of this season. There's plenty I'm sure he'd wish was cut. This is no worse than the rest of it. As a matter of fact, comparatively to everything else, this is tame. Brooke has a show coming up, but instead devotes her time and attention to her father and his recovery.
That instead of being here rehearsing and taking care of business, you were taking care of me. That's not cool.
Because I love you.
Eventually, Brooke does get to perform. And it's something. It's definitely something. I wouldn't say it's something good, but it is, something. I'm of course only talking about the dancing portion of this routine because the show doesn't exactly show you the singing. Instead, it plays the finalized track over the actual performance. Ashley Simpson, eat your heart out. Is it considered lip syncing if it's done in post? Right after doing her routine to a song called Strip, complete with poles and provocative dancing, Brooke immediately takes to the mic to thank her father for coming out and watching her despite just going under the knife. I don't know, that seems like weird timing. The episode ends with everyone commenting on how great Brooke was. And that is it. That is the end. That is Brooke Knows Best. The good, the bad, and the Hulk. I'm really surprised that Brooke and Linda didn't make up by the time the series came to an end. I thought for sure that that's what this season was building up to. But no. There's no resolution, there's just Brooke dancing. There's no real conclusion here. And similarly, I have no real conclusion to make about the show after. After 4 seasons of the first show and 2 seasons of the spin-off, you'd think that I'd have something to say to wrap this whole thing up in a neat little bow. You know, my final thoughts segment. But no, I'm surprisingly out of words. I've said everything that needs to be said up until this point. So saying anything now just seems pointless. You've all seen what I've seen. I will say that this is a rather disappointing ending. It's certainly not a highlight of the Knows Best brand as a whole. As a matter of fact, I would say that this is an all-time low for it, but that's probably why it ended and wasn't picked up for another season. I guess it goes to show you that sometimes it really is just about the journey, and not really the destination. So if you guys like this journey and would maybe want to hop in the car and ride on over to the next adventure, I don't know, maybe join me in taking a look back at wrestlers in other reality TV shows, let me know in the comment section below by leaving a comment saying...
That sounded so good.
I am vengeance. I am the night. And that was V Infuso. Just remember, if you're not tuning in, then you're missing out.
So, if you like the words that came out of his mouth hole, and you too would like to become a V-generate, don't forget to like and subscribe. Thanks for watching, nerds!
And if you're not joining the fun, you're in for one bad day. And you know what they say about having one bad day?
Catch him next time. Same bat time. Same bat channel.